スに風遊び誰の憧れにさまよう青空に残された私の心は夏模様夢が覚め夜の中
All right, welcome to this podcast about Boku No Natsuyasumi 2. This is the title of the podcast for now. It's a podcast about Boku No Natsuyasumi 2. Maybe we're going to figure out a better title. My name is Gus Lanzetta. I am joined by Fáyer.
Hey, hello.
Not the element, not Fáyer, but a very cool game developer from Mexico. You want to introduce yourself, my friend?
Yes, my name is Antonio Uribe, better known as Fáyer, which actually comes from fire, but it's just a way of spelling it weird because that's how people pronounce it over here in Mexico. And yeah, as you say, I'm a game developer. I'm actually about to release a game soon. I don't know when people are going to listen to this, but August 15, I'm going to be releasing a game called R-Code, which I work with other friends from the world. And it's nothing like Boku no Natsuyasumi. So if you want to learn more about that game, follow me on socials or something, because we're going to be talking about Boku no Natsuyasumi.
Cool. And I am a former video game journalist from Brazil. I covered video games for a long time, and nowadays I work more on like writing and producing and directing stuff for TV and podcasts. And this is just the thing we figured out to do because maybe you're not aware, but Boku no Natsuyasumi is a game where you play a kid who's on summer vacation in 1975, and Boku no Natsuyasumi 2 especially, and I believe all of them, happen during the month of August. So you start playing on August 1st, and then you have like this kind of gameplay loop that repeats every day. And so a lot of people are enjoying the fact that there's now a fan English translation of the game. Makes it more accessible to people who don't speak Japanese. And so the idea kind of bubbled up on the internet. I don't know where it started exactly. Of like,
I think the game released, the fan translation patch released last year at the end, like November or something, 2023. And a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I was expecting something like this. I want to play it. And then the conversation about like maybe playing one day in August. So a lot of people waited until this time. And now that there's always someone on the internet that remembers those kinds of things, and they were like, well, this is the right time and right place to do this, and exactly. It just bubbled up in different spaces, which is why I joined in that way, like to start doing it, and I tweeted about it, and I think you saw me and you were like, hey, I also want to do this, and then it's like, well, let's talk about it because that's what we like to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I was on a Discord where people were creating a channel just to kind of post about this and doing the August playthrough. So this is it. It's the first August where the game's been available in English, so a lot of people have come to it. And kind of like I just wanted to give an overview. This is the second game in the series. The first one came out in 2000 for the PlayStation. It's by a studio called Millennium Kitchen, who mainly did these kind of games and still do these kinds of games. They have Natsumon, who just came out, a game that just came out last year. It's gonna get just got its English translation, official translation patch on Steam like this
week. Which is, I think, the second or third of these kinds of games that they do that comes out of Japan with a translation, right? Like,
yeah, they did this Shin-chan, me and my professor on summer vacation, right?
Horrible name because it's like Shin-chan Adventure something, the professor and summer, and it's like it's too many words and it doesn't translate well. Yeah.
I tried to play that game. I played like maybe a couple of days of it, and just I had other things going on and didn't really
connect.
Didn't really connect it with me, even though I know Shin-chan and I did watch a bit of the anime.
There was a 3DS or DS game, some Attack of the Monsters or something.
Maybe.
Have you maybe I think that's also out of Japan.
Oh yes, Attack of the Friday Monsters, a Tokyo Tale is also a Millennium Kitchen game. So
that's a strange name. Also Millennium Kitchen, and also it has like a lizard on the logo, so it like it.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I don't know if they plan to cook the lizard or what. But yeah, so the first game came out on PlayStation in the year 2000. The PlayStation 2 was already out in Japan by then. And then this game comes out in 2002 for the PlayStation 2. And it kind of repeats the same premise. Same name for the protagonist Boku, which is kind of a play on words there with how one can refer to oneself in Japanese, but it's kind
As
of
a
like
kid.
yeah, as a kid specifically.
As a boy
Yes.
kid. Yeah.
As a young boy. But anyways, that it's kind of irrelevant here. So this kind of expands the game a little bit. I haven't played the first one. The first one is still only in Japanese. This is the first game that's gotten a fan translation. So this is kind of the first door into this franchise for us. And I think that when you tweeted out that you were also doing this, and you said, oh, we should share our experiences, and first thing I thought of was a podcast, because I was like, oh, well, you don't have to write down things to do a podcast, and writing down things is boring. And so,
Also plays really well with the joke about like, how do you call a couple of white men with beards
yes,
talking together, just a podcast. So
it's a podcast.
no, and it's like, I mean, we met a couple years ago in Brazil during a game developer event, and we both are chatty persons. So
indeed we are. Yeah, I knew this would work. And so the first thing I think I said to you about my idea for this was that it intrigued me that this experience was so alluring, I think, from people all over the world. And here we are, one guy from Brazil, one guy from Mexico, who spent our summers not in Japan as children, and decidedly not in 1975. I believe none of us were even born in the year 1975. And still, I think there's a lot of nostalgia that comes from playing this. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I have another extra story that I want to tell about it. But before, because of the Mexican and Brazil connection, the biggest connection maybe there is El Chavo del Ocho. And,
Yes.
Like this Mexican TV show of adults dressed as kids having just doing shenanigans. And I think we talk a lot about El Chavo when we were at that time in Brazil. But I was thinking about the experience of being a kid, as a just regular kid doing regular kid nonsense and playing and doing stuff. And then I think I saw El Chavo and I was like, that is the perfect representation of that idea in my culture, but it's also something that Brazilians took and made their own. And it's also like another kind of thing, which is also from the 70s. But it feels timeless in a way that it's like, it doesn't matter that much when you like grew up. As you watch that, you could connect with those adults playing kids. And I actually was surprised when I was a kid watching that show in the 90s, because then I saw my father's pictures from when he was a kid, and he was disguised as El Chavo and those characters with his brothers. And I was like, I didn't realize it was an old show. I knew it was old people playing as kids, but I didn't realize it was like from old times, from when my father was a kid. So it's maybe that idea that this kind of game feels kind of like, even if you're like, we're adults on our 30s and we're playing this and enjoying just being a kid in the summer.
Totally. That is just it's of course that is a normal experience, but I just find it so weird that because my parents are old parents, they were not children at all when Chavo was on TV, so that was very much my thing of like they didn't have any familiarity with it when I started watching it. And so to realize that you can be a second or even third or fourth generation Chavo fan is very interesting. And now that we're talking about, there's a relatability to this thing that is somehow very specific to a time and a place, but can also be an icon of the universality of the experience of being a child in any culture. You make me think that maybe instead of Shin-Chan, they should have done El Chavo del Ocho characters in a game like this. It would
maybe
work.
Yeah, and I was thinking, so and this is the story that I mentioned earlier. My first connection with Boku No Natsuyasumi, which needs in English it's translated as my summer vacation, which is also not descriptive of a game. It doesn't have a brandy name that in Boku No Natsuyasumi is one of those things that when you say it, people roll their eyes like, oh, it's gonna talk about this anime or something. But I remember I was talking to a friend a bunch of years ago, and I pitched him an idea of a game that I had about like I grew up in a really small town in Mexico, and I said like I just want you to put you in the place of a kid in the 90s in my town, or like the memories that I have of my town, and just being a kid before the internet, before all these things, just doing stuff, going to the mountains and doing, you know, like finding bugs and all that. And I was explaining this like concept of an idea to this friend, and he said, "That's just Boku no Natsuyasumi." And I rolled my eyes and I'm like, "What is that?" And then he's like, "Just Googled it." So I Googled, and then I found this is previous of like the Tim Rogers video and all different other things that have happened. And I just like, but this is I wouldn't know about this because this is like an extremely Japanese game that never came to the Americas. And I was like, but it seems to be, because there were like some gameplays probably online, like what I was talking about. So I was like, all right, eventually, maybe, hopefully, I'll be able to play this in one version. And the first version really was, well, Tim Rogers' video at some point, and then the Shinchan game that you mentioned. That's the first time that I actually got to play the format of the game.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Tim Rogers is also a game developer, former game journalist, who has a YouTube channel called Action Button, and he did a video on the first Boku a few years ago, and a lot of people, such as us, watched that video and kind of got interested. So that was the first time I was kind of like thought about giving this game a chance. But thinking about being a kid,
a little bit before, it's not just a video; it's a 6 hours. Plus,
it's a very long video.
It's a very long
of the
analysis.
Style that Tim is known for making. Yes, it is kind of it's a journey. But
and before, is that the first time that you saw this general idea of this games, or did you know before?
No, yes, it was the first time. I had no idea that this game existed, or that this was a thing. And looking at it in the video back then, and now having played it. It looks like something I would have no interest at as a child in. Like, I was 12 when this game came out, so at 12 I would have no interest for two things, I think. And the first one is that there's a certain style of game design and how you're navigating menus and watching dialogue scroll past on the screen and stuff that kind of would turn me off back then, of like the kind of things that I like playing. And also because it would have been in Japanese, it would be very hard for me to understand what I was supposed to do, because it's just not, I mean, even the movement of the character is kind of like it's kind of like Resident Evil, but not, and it would have not been intuitive for me at that age. But also, I think there's a higher appeal for adults in this game. I think that even back then, this was probably being played by adults and not by children. I think children have actual summer vacations that they want to go and be a part of and play around, and it's a game for nostalgic older dudes like us, or older people in general that want to kind of relive childhood in a sense.
I completely agree, but I also remember on Tim Rogers' video, he has a piece about a conversation when he worked in Japan and talked to like an older developer there about the game, and he wanted to play it, and he was like, "But that's for kids." And it made him feel. I remember there is a conversation about like it feels like you're looking into my diary or something like that. He was saying, because it's like It represents the idea of being a kid too well, and it felt strange for him, for another adult of another culture, to be interested in the infancy or like being a kid in this. And it's not like a bad weird. It's more like it made him like had that like thing, like like it's kind of strange that you want to do this, but I don't know why.
Yes, but what I took from that conversation more was not that it is weird because you're a grown-up, but it's weird because you're not Japanese and you didn't grow up with that exact experience as the character in the game, and that the other developer, the Japanese developer that was looking down on Tim for wanting to play that game, was kind of like going like, well, this is my nostalgia. Why would you be nostalgic about this if you haven't lived it? And I think that question is something we might get into here, which is like, why would people like us be nostalgic about this experience? And I think the answer is for now, having played 7 in-game days, is that, well, a lot of the experience of being a kid is in summer, especially, not going to school and just playing around all day, is very much universal. And it's very relatable. And especially because I think I'm 34. How old are you?
25.
35. So, we're pretty much the same age. And we still grew up mostly without the internet. We completely without, cell phones and smartphones and things like that. So the experience we had as a kid was not, that different from Boku in 1975. He has a TV. We had TV, but it was this one TV in a room in your house or in the house you're in during the summer, and you're playing around, and it's bicycles and rockets and things like that. It's the stuff that you had to have fun as a child, and action figures, things like that. So I think that helps, that it's a slice of life of summers that were kind of the same thing during, like, for a few decades there. So it spans a few generations that can relate to this experience. And one thing I would like to bring into this, and maybe we'll get into this now, is that how much the experience of being an adult with anxiety and an adult brain projects onto being a child in this game, because I was completely able to just enjoy summer vacations without focusing on the fact that, one, that they end and that you're not going to have any more after a while, but especially you're not going to have another one for a year when you're a kid, but also that the number of things that you can do is, because of that limitation, it's finite. And how does that affect you playing this game? And how do you compare how you go through this game and how you went through actually just being a kid and enjoying summer?
Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking that when I was a kid, summer felt endless until it ended, because 2 months when you're, or a month, it depends a lot, like where you are from and how that happens. But it's a long time, and as an adult, and even playing this game, which it takes a whole month, it's I feel the limits of, like, I already passed 1 week and it's only 3 more weeks, I can see the end line pretty close, and it doesn't feel like it's a long time. It's a long time for many things, but I've never had a 1 month vacations for, like, I don't know, like 15 years at least, or something, like more than that probably. Like, since I started university, I stopped having month-long vacations, and to having that much time in my hands to do whatever, like to not have something like you have to do this or that, and even the kid has some things to do that you're reminded a couple times, like you have to do a project because that's, again, like you're in the middle of school or something. But it's interesting to see it in that way. I think, just coming down also to the nostalgia thing, I because this is how I see my idea of my own game based on this is, obviously you didn't have like, you don't need to be Japanese, and in my case Mexican, to be nostalgic for these things. You just have to have been a kid before to because at the end the nostalgia is, again, for being old enough to be able to be independent and do whatever you want, so you don't have an adult following you around, like taking care of you, but young enough to still see stuff as with the naivety of being a kid. You don't have malice. You're not thinking about, like, I have to make money, I have to do this other thing, and you're not stressed, you're not anxious about stuff. You're just like, I'm just gonna catch bugs all day, and I'll order them in size or whatever it is, and that's it. That's my day. And I figured out today, and I just gonna do that and then come back later to see what else you don't have plans.
Yeah. And I think largely the game abides by that, of, like, I don't think it's a game that puts a lot of pressure on you. But one thing that, intentional or not, kind of gets to my anxiety when playing this game, not enough that I think it's shaping my way of playing it, but it's in the back of my mind, is that there are things, and most of them, or pretty much all of them, are optional, but they are time specific or day specific that happen. Like your neighbor, I think Hikari, I think is her name. The
Hikari
young,
is the young one. Yeah.
yeah, so she can do. She has this little paper thing that I remember my friends at school doing, like the little paper origami thing that you can that she will write numbers on. It's really hard to describe now, but it's kind of like this folded up paper with numbers in it, and depending on the way you open it up, you access different numbers that have different things written on that.
You
side
also
of the
did that when you were younger. You're saying.
Yes,
and we also do that. So where does it come from?
Yeah, well, I don't know where it comes from, but I remember totally.
It's universal.
I was not the one folding the paper because I didn't have the fine motor skill for that. But I remember a lot of friends of mine in school would do that, especially.
And
girls.
It's mostly girls, yeah.
Yes.
And it's always, in my case, it was related to like you put some dates and numbers and names, I think, and it told you like who you liked or if you were like.
Yes,
like if you could have a good relationship with them based on like the numbers that you say is like
totally.
4 and they like fold it and it's like, oh no, that's bad for you. It's like tarot for kids or something.
Yes, and the game itself in the translation refers it to as your fortune for that day.
Yeah.
But the way it kind of works is that it gives you little pointers of things that you might be able to do that day or the next day. Of like, oh, if you go to the beach at noon, something's gonna happen. Or hey, maybe go talk to my sister at night. So sometimes I'll have that moment of like going, oh, maybe I should remember doing that tomorrow, and then I'll forget or not get there in time, and then I'll go, oh no, I missed it. Oh, I missed it. What is going to happen? And so one of the things that I know that can happen and hasn't happened to me yet is that I haven't dreamt of anything in the game. Like every time I go to sleep, it just plays the same going to sleep animation of and no dreams. And I know that
I haven't dreamt either.
Yes,
So.
and I am so anxious about that my Boku hasn't dreamed.
Have you showered? Well, bathed?
I have bathed a couple of times.
Haven't.
Yes. I because in the
always when I go there, it's always like girls' time, and I'm like, all right.
The first few days I tried, it said, yeah, it's today's the girls' time to do it. And then after the first night I tried and it was able to bathe, I immediately started thinking like, am I always dirty? Like, does the game only think of me as clean if I have actually gone and bathed and in the little like bathtub and just steamed for a bit? But now
I'm not sure because I think Japanese use that only like once a week or something, but they shower.
Yeah, like so you don't go to the onsen every day. You just shower like regularly.
Yeah, so I think maybe like I kind of want to not have a bath for the so if to see if someone says something about like you're stinky or something like that.
Exactly. So
like
yeah,
it's
no one referred to
my
me
cleanliness,
as stinky yet. Before, like I played maybe like let me see when I first took a bath. If I wrote that
your
down.
log of
Well, day 2 was my most eventful here, but I don't think I wrote down when I took my first bath, and
which is I've been noting that like everything because I mean some things are mundane, but it's also like I don't know how common in this game is to do this, so I don't know if this is a special thing that I saw or if it's something that it's gonna happen all the time. I think we should start to tell our days, but like a little bit before we talk a lot about the like setting up like the idea of the game for like people that maybe they haven't seen, and I hope like if you are interested in this you go and watch something to see the image of it, but talking a little bit like explaining a little bit more like as the game presents itself. You start as we have said on August 1st 1975. You're a kid that isn't named Boku, but he refers him as himself because there's a conversation.
He does say his name is Boku, and
yeah,
like,
but there's a conversation. He says it's just everybody calls me Boku, so I'm using Boku.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There's a little conversation that made me think. So your name is not Boku, and coming back to El Chavo means kid in Spanish.
Yes.
So it's a similar thing.
Is
of
fun.
Like not using your own name, just like referring to yourself as kid. And anyway. You're that kid, you're what, 10 years old or something like that?
I think 10, yeah.
And you're coming on a boat to this island. So that's one of the biggest difference from the first game, which is like you're on an island, on a special island. And you get there, there's an older girl that is on the same boat that you have a little conversation with, and there is the boat captain that is bringing you to this. It's a small boat. It's not like something super big.
It's like a ferry.
Yeah, exactly, like a ferry. And you get there, and there's a family waiting for you. I think you refer to them as uncle and aunt, and they have two kids. One is older than you, and one is younger than you. And the older girl goes with her sister, or what you think is her sister, which is a younger girl as well. And I don't know how old is the girl that you met in the boat. I thought she was not an adult, but like close to an adult, but it seems to be not that far from you. So maybe 14 or 15.
Yeah, and that, speaks to your perception of older kids when you're so young. Of like, if you're 10 and you meet a 14-year-old, they're like an adult for you.
Yeah, exactly. But
they got it figured out.
Yeah, but like the more I met her, like it seemed kind of weird, like the relationship that she's trying to have with you. And then like she's not that old. She's just because I think she's just like at the end of high school or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
And so you're met with this family. You're with them for the summer because your mom specifically is gonna have a kid, and they're like doing something related to that. So they're somewhere else. You don't see them really. You're on your own coming to this island. And then this family you're going to be with this family, which also runs a guest house in this place. So there's other guests that you meet there. One that is staying at the beginning and one that comes, we'll talk about it on the spread of the days. Yeah. And the way the game works is that it has this like Resident Evil, the first ones, it has this like camera, like how cinematic view of things. Just like you cannot move the camera.
Yeah, it's each place you're at has one fixed camera view of like, so if you're in the yard, it has this one view, and you step out a frame, you go to another area that has a different fixed camera view, and that's kind of like how you navigate. And those, instead of being like pre-rendered 3D graphics like in a Resident Evil game, it's like these beautiful 2D illustrations that kind of look like a manga or an anime.
Yeah, and it's a combination of a little bit of 3D and 2D, and there's some things to sprinkle on top, like particles and stuff, like for bugs and water and things.
Yeah,
and
like the characters are 3D, the bugs are 3D, your bicycles, stuff like that.
But the world, like the scene, is mostly like an oil painting in a way, like like this beautiful, realistic kind of presentation of with a specific perspective. It's not just a left to right, up, down. It's just like some weird angles as well. And the most important thing is like, again, it's real. It's not real time like Animal Crossing, which is like it follows your real clock. It's more like it has an in-game clock, and every time you change location, camera angles, it moves a little bit further. I think it has settings, and I want to ask you if you're playing it slow, normal, or fast.
It was something I've been playing normal, and I was gonna ask you today what you're doing as well.
I immediately went to slow because I kind of want to.
I'm thinking about going to slow.
So the difference,
it's been going too fast for me.
Yeah, I think the biggest, like, you have a clock when you enter the menu. The menu is another angle of a table that has your stuff, like it has like your tools. You have some things in there, your shirt that you can remove, and I don't know if you can get more clothes, but I
don't think so.
It's just one that is there, and if you click on it, you remove your shirt, and then you click again.
That is the first entry in my little diary here, is that this is what I wrote down: accidentally took Boku's shirt off, kept it off. And I have been
nothing changes. I think nobody comments.
I've been playing the whole game shirt off, because I was like, as soon as I took it out, like I opened the menu and clicked the first thing I saw, and immediately just took my shirt off. I was like, oh, this is weird. But then I was like, well, this is it.
It's summer.
It's summer. I'm gonna be shirtless.
We have to remember, summer in Japan is really humid and really hot.
Yeah.
So even us that live in places that are really hot and humid as well, maybe it's comparatively so. So it's common.
Like,
and you see kids without clothes.
I, as a kid, spent a lot of the summer shirtless. So I don't think this is... I thought it was totally appropriate for Boku to also...
I thought when I removed it, I tried to talk to some people to see if there was going to be a reaction about it. And it didn't happen. And like, it's just a preference. And then I kept it on because
And you can even, like, you'll go through meals shirtless. And after a few days, my older cousin was also shirtless.
Yeah.
So I was like... Well, good, it's
he learned from you.
Here.
And So the settings allow you to change. It starts in normal. I think it moves. I don't know if it's 10 or 20 minutes on the clock that you have there, and you have a clock that is with the. It's not digital. It's like analog clock. So it's not that easy to tell time if you're not used to that kind of
and
clock.
also, I'm not sure you will always have the clock there. Like,
I think you
remember
get it
stealing
early.
the clock. You have to steal the clock first.
Okay.
For it to show up there. Because, I think I did that on... I borrowed the clock on the second day. So before that, I didn't have the clock on that menu screen. So when you're walking in your aunt and uncle's place, there's this little clock on the table. And when you click on it, it says, oh, I'll borrow this for a while. And I thought it might be like usable for like some sort of like side mission or something, but then I realized it was just, oh no, this is how you get a clock to show up on the menu.
It's just to tell the time. If not, you cannot know unless there's some like changes of light that tell you, or like there's some events that are forced.
Yeah, there's morning, afternoon, and night, pretty much like aesthetically.
I think there is because sometimes with the fortune telling thing it says like day, and if you go morning, there's not there. But if you go up,
but is there
noon,
a light variation?
No, it's not a light variation for that, but I think it recognizes morning and like middle of the day, and then evening, and then night.
Yes, and because I've gotten stuff in the fortune that says like this place at noon specifically. And it didn't work for me, actually. It was one of the days that it told me to go to the clinic at noon because I would see why the nurse is so happy, which was very cryptic. And I was there at noon, and like before noon and after noon, like I was just changing screens to just see if something changed.
Time.
But she stayed, sitting there with the doctor in that room.
And the thing is, like, I've had some conversations about that with other people on the Discord that I'm playing with, and they mentioned this, like, there's nothing there, and sometimes it's just like it's a little conversation that it's 2 lines of dialogue that move the story a little bit further.
Right.
Like you get a little sense of like, okay, she's excited about something, and then if you come next day, she tells you a little bit more, and that's the way the story progresses in the game. In general, you see these characters, which are not that many. We mentioned that your 2 cousins, the girl that comes on the ferry, her sister, and then this doctor, which is their grandparents of the 2 girls, and then there's a nurse, which is a girl that always goes back on the ferry, like every day goes back, so she's not from the island. There's the captain of the boat that brought you there, but also brings her back, and they have some cutesy conversations. So I'm thinking, I
haven't seen the boat captain ever since I got there. I didn't know
it's on the dock area of the town, so you have to be. He's there early because I think it's when people come. And he's there evening because that's when people leave. So if you go there in the middle of the day, he's not there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because your uncle is usually sitting like near the dock.
The uncle is like on a tool shed or something next to the house. Yeah, and
he gives you fishing advice pretty much every day.
Yeah, and it's the house is kind of... You start all your days, you start with like having breakfast. And then they let you be on the house. And the house is... Half of the house is on this, like on the beach, on top of the water, and then you can go up and then cross like a little bridge that connects you to the guest house, which is where you find the other guests, and sometimes your cousins, and sometimes the mom, like your aunt, and then from there you connect to different areas of the town, to the other houses, the houses of the... Something happened to the parents of the girls, and the house is kind of special looking. It looks like an observatory because the father is obsessed with that, and then you have the doctor.
And also, he has a huge record collection.
And books,
and some cool speakers, and she's always listening to music at night, and you can go there to listen to music with her, which is where you'll find such hits as the sad song from Tim Rogers' videos is actually the song she likes to listen to.
And before I think the other thing important to mention is the controllers. So we call them tank controllers because if you on the D-pad, it uses only the D-pad and some buttons on the right side. Remember, this is a PlayStation game, so think of that.
Yeah, controller. This one's PlayStation 2, but they just kept it on the D-pad, even though
they don't use the sticks
analog stick,
for anything. Yeah. You use the D-pad. If you press left or right, you turn a little bit to that side, like your character some degrees to the left or to the right. If you press back, it does a 360, 180 turn, so it looks backwards. And then I don't think if you press forwards, anything happens, but it's with X, it moves in that direction.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a mix of like Resident Evil tank controls and just driving a car in a game.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's called tank, because it's
Yeah.
like chunky and like you like press a button to walk forward.
Yeah, and so you just kind of steer left to right while you're walking, and it works really well when you're on the bike. Not that it doesn't work. Like I got used to it quicker
Pretty
than
fast.
I thought I would. Yeah, but when you get on the bike, it just makes it click
Connects.
for you in a way that it kind of helps even when you're off the bike later. That I thought.
And I think
okay, I get it.
the important. I think Team Rogers gets into this as well, but like they do it like this because the camera changes so much that if you control it like as we're used to controlling characters moving a stick or a D-pad even, the changing of camera will make you go back immediately from like, because sometimes you enter from the left when you're on the right side of the other camera angle. So this is a way to make you always, like if you just press X, you always go forward and you continue your movement. So it's a way to like, it makes a lot of sense. And it's strange for our perspective in the modern time, but you again, like you play a couple minutes and then you're like your mind immediately connects and it's like, all right, I get it now.
Totally.
My problem, I think, it's the circle X kind of thing, which is like circle is to commit something and X is to go back, but I sometimes get them mixed.
I've been pretty used to it by now, like and especially because I'm not playing anything else that's like very menu heavy like during these days, so like I'm not going back and forth with other games that have me press X to confirm a lot, so that helps a bit. I think it's super weird because I'm actually, you're playing on a Steam Deck and I'm playing on an Xbox controller, so we're actually pressing B to confirm, which it does seem wrong and against God's will, but also I think that having the fixed angles really helps, because like in a point and click adventure game, it makes you really familiar with all the places you're going to, because you're going to the same places every day, and you kind of you don't have a map, so you got to get the lay of the land of like really where are things in this town, and well,
you do have a kind of like a map on your menu as well, but it's not
so far out. It's so far.
Yeah, it's not something that it tells you like, oh, this is this house, but more or less. The problem is that you don't know how you're oriented on that location that you are. So sometimes it's like you're here and it's like, well, that right path will take me to the river, and they're like, oh no, it was the other one, so you have to go back. So
but that kind of really helps me of like getting like this mental map of like the progression of screens of like, oh, I know that I'll be in this screen and then this will get me to that screen, which will get me this screen to this screen to this screen. So I kind of put it together in my head.
It really has a format similar to point and click adventures, also in the sense of like you hit a lot of like invisible walls, and it's like that's your limits. But also what's something that really works with these perspectives is that they can hide a lot of things that you have accessible immediately without hiding it really, because you don't know that you can interact, or like you have to figure it out. You have to like do a lot of button presses and like go into weird angles, because sometimes you don't know if that ledge it's climbable or not until you go there. There's not a lot of yellow painting helping to be like, hey, that's actually really a road or something like that. And you sometimes discover like once some character brings you somewhere and like go around that thing, and like, oh, I could always do this and I didn't try, but now I know. They have a lot of like different in-game ways of like teaching you how to do stuff, which also makes it feel more like a kid. Like, I didn't know I could do that.
Totally, and that's one of the reasons I haven't been like searching online how to do things, and kind of like sometimes I really want to to know that I'm not missing out on anything, but I've been not doing that. But what I've been doing, and I think you might as well, is that I've been talking to people like on Discord and stuff. So I've been, sometimes I've learned things with other people who are playing, because for some reason in my head that is acceptable. That's not breaking the rules. I agree. You'd be talking to your friends and figuring stuff out. So like the how to make sugar water is something someone told me of like, because we'll get into why you need sugar water in a bit, but so you go in the kitchen at night and it will let you do that. But if you don't have a friend in real life to tell you, one of your cousins will eventually tell you how to get that sugar water. It will just tell you exactly go to the kitchen at night. So there's a lot of things you can figure out on your own. There's a lot of things that if you don't figure out on your own, eventually you'll get to a dialogue that will clear that up for you. And so kind of that is, but what I thought it was surprising for this type of game that I really enjoyed is that it will not gatekeep those things. Like, if you haven't heard from someone in the game that you can do this, doesn't mean that you can't just figure out how to
it
do
doesn't
it.
open it when the character
Yeah.
tells you that you can do it. There are some things that are actually closed and they open it when the character does something, but there are many other things that are like just there for you to
I was really
grab.
surprised by the amount of things that are just opened up for you, like from the start, that you don't have to. Like, I thought it would be. Like a lot of games, from that era and some that are even current, of like, I thought it was gonna be like a drip feed of like, oh, today you're gonna learn how to catch bugs, and then tomorrow you'll learn how to fish, and then the other day, and kind of like, no, if you want to go like from first day, you can catch bugs, and you can fish, and you can swim, and you can do all these things kind of like from day one, and that was really good.
I was gonna say that I also haven't been looking for stuff because remembering your like one of your comments about when you were a kid that you wouldn't be into this kind of game. I actually played something when I was around the age, like around 14 or 15. I went to the local game shop that sell on the PlayStation 1. They sold the pirated version. Like, I don't know. I don't think I've seen an original. I saw an original game of PlayStation till recently.
You've heard that they're black CDs, but
yeah.
you don't
like,
have black
cool.
CDs.
But they cost like 100 times more, and you're like, no, I'm good with the regular ones. And I remember being in the shop, and I didn't have a lot of money. And he said, the owner said, like, I have this weird game, and it's only 10 pesos, which is like at the time like $1 or something, or even less. And it was like cheaper. Like most of the games were like around 50 pesos, and that was 10, like a fifth. And I was like, that's either gonna be the worst game ever, or like just a thing like it's gonna be weird. And I had the money, so I was like, okay, give it to me. And it was Harvest Moon on the PlayStation. So I didn't speak English at the time. I wasn't familiar with that kind of game, but it feels kind of close to what we're experiencing. And I bought it. I really liked it because it's a farming game and you can do a lot of like animal stuff and things. It has a weird story, weird stuff hidden in the world and all that. So I convinced my cousins and other friends like around my age to buy it as well, and we played it as a community. And I feel like nowadays it's kind of difficult to do that, to have to play a game and to figure it out collectively, like with a like what Pokemon was supposed to be like, or like other games similar, like to go into the playground and be like, oh, I did this. I think Breath of the Wild, for example, is one of the early ones, like recent ones that actually made me feel that way again. To be like, to not be like afraid of spoilers, to be excited about hearing something that other people did and that made me play and go try to find it. So I think it's a great way to play this game. Again, we're doing it. This game takes a in-game month, and we're doing it one day at a day. And you can do more or less. Sometimes you're an adult and you have things to do. And I think I'm not looking online for like cheats or stuff because I don't want to. I eventually, when I finished, I'll look for other things that are there. But I think having these conversations are. I'm trying to remove that part of me that feels like, oh no, that was a spoiler, and I wanted to figure it out on my own, and more like to be like, oh, that's exciting, I'll try to do that tomorrow. But I always ask people when they say like, oh, I haven't been able to do this, to be like, do you want to know how? Because I already did it, and I can tell you. Because some people are like, I want to figure it out on my own.
Yeah. I'm usually not like very spoiler sensitive, and in this case, the things that I'm keeping myself from searching is just so I don't end up getting into that min-maxing kind of frame of mind of like, if I read like a game facts fact, I'll know too much and I want to optimize my playstyle too much. But just talking to other people and realizing what is possible and what kind of like interesting things that I might seek out seems totally okay with the experience I want to have with this game, which is kind of like childlike wonder and kind of learning what may be possible there. And
the only thing really, that I wanted to, sorry to interrupt, but like the only thing that I wanted to look for like online now, like because it was a part of the game at the time, was the manual, because those things sometimes had some instructions or some things that were meant to be for you to check before you play the game.
Yeah.
So I was like,
how is the menu? I haven't looked.
No, I haven't either, because I'm like, okay. I don't even know if it's translated. Maybe it is, but
maybe someone. Well, it should be easier to like automatically.
Translate. Like at this
PDF.
point we can just like point phone Google and be like,
something like that. But kind of like something that I made peace with when I started playing it was like I have no interest in doing like the best ending or whatever, or having done everything. Of like the fact that this will end in 30 in-game days is just it's fine by me. It will end whatever I'll be able to have done in those 30 games, 30 play sessions is fine.
It's your summer. It is what it is. Sometimes
exactly.
You don't get to have the perfect summer.
And it's kind of like the first time that I can think of playing a game that is this open-ended and kind of based on not very delineated objectives that has this time limit. Because like back then, like in 2002, I was very into The Sims back then.
Okay.
And so I've played a lot of The Sims, but in a game like that or a game like Stardew Valley, which is very much like Harvest Moon, the difference is that you can play this forever.
Yes.
You
it
can
loops
just like
again.
It loops, and you can have the same character, the same farm, the same house, and just keep doing stuff and keep finding out more things you can do, more people you can talk to, and just like, oh, I didn't do this this summer, I'll do it next summer. Just it doesn't matter. So with this game, I am kind of and this surprised me a lot of like being at peace with maybe I didn't catch all the bugs, and maybe I didn't talk to this person when I could have, and I won't see that part of the story, but I'm fine with it because I'm kind of like into the idea of like crafting my own summer, and whatever summer comes out of it is good. And kind of like when I talked about it, like, oh, my Boku hasn't dreamed yet, part of me is kind of like, I want to see that happen, and that would be interesting, but I'm also like fine with whatever summer it is, because my character and I as a player are having fun. We're having fun. It's being okay. Whatever I end up doing is fine. But also and I think this is a good segue for us to get into kind of our diaries of like what we did each day of this first in-game week, is that now that I've been reaching like day 7, there's a lot there's fewer new things for me to do, and I think that I've been able to do fewer things every day. Of like, maybe some of these things are not as interesting to me, so maybe I don't do them repeatedly anymore, and there's not enough new elements being introduced every day that there's clearly there's a shorter list of things that I've done in the past few days, and this, if I'm being totally honest, this has kind of started bothering me. And I don't know how this is going to progress into the second week. And I wanted to know how this experience has been for you in that sense.
I think because I've been playing it in a slow way with the settings, it allows me to do a little bit more with my time, which is the thing. Like if you play it, I think slow it gives you double the change location. So that allows me to not miss as much things. It's not meant to be for me for min-maxing stuff, but it's more like I don't like timers and I don't like constraints are that strong. I will, like, if they allow me to not pass, like to choose when to pass time, I might be able to do it, because I'm one of those players with JRPGs that tell me to, like, when you find the right way, you come back and you check for everything on the wrong way to see that you get all the items and stuff, and then you continue, And it's not even like 100% thing. It's just like, I want to see what the developers did, or like I want to see as much as the game as I can. And also, I don't want to do everything, because there's a point where it's just like double the time to just get that extra 5 to 10% that I don't care, but I kind of want to get more than just a glance in the sense. So that's why I put it as a slow.
Yeah, like for a long time now, I've been totally at peace with the fact that I like playing games on easy, and I think slow mode for this game might be the easy mode. Because of
more so if you're interested in seeing a little bit more of the things without feeling the rush of like, oh, I made a bad turn and then I'm not gonna make it in time for the other thing, and I'm gonna miss my window. Cool. So I think that's what makes it a little bit more stressful in that sense.
And I think that also this comes into the fact that like most people today, we're playing this on an emulator, and I'm playing on my PC, so I'll have to come to my PC to do it. And you're playing on a Steam Deck, so and I don't know, like, are you playing it in bed or are you playing it like on the couch?
That's what I like about the form of the mobile kind of
exactly.
thing.
Like I think that if I had a Steam Deck to play it on, I might have. There was some days here that I could have gotten more into it, and sometimes I've been playing it at the end of the day, and I've been on my computer all day, and I kind of just doing it. Kind of like okay,
turning off the bad
this.
window to turn on the good window, but it's exactly the
Yeah,
same
but
window.
you're
That's
still
what I
the same.
like. The Steam Deck, I got it because of that. Because I don't like playing games on my computer in front of on the place that I work. So it allows me. I also have kids, so it's easier to be like, I have 10 minutes right now. I'll use I'm not gonna wait and go into the computer and doing that thing. Should we get into our days? I think we mostly discussed the first one. I don't remember if there was something else on the first. I think you just get to meet the people and then you move to the next one, right?
Well, yeah, you get there. I accidentally took my shirt off, so I already talked about that. And there's one thing I wrote down where if I didn't know what this game is, that nothing bad happens in Boku No Natsuyasumi, I would have been a bit put off by this, is that if you go to your cousin's room and you look into the closet and you press circle, what Boku says is that there are cardboard boxes and an oil heater in the closet. And I immediately went, oh, that's a fire hazard. That's a huge fire hazard. And I was like, oh, is the house going to burn down? Is everyone going to die? And I was like, well, no, not in this game. But, this is a good setup if you're trying to make like a different type of game.
Yeah, the Chekhov's oil.
Yeah, Chekhov's oil heater.
I mean, in Japan, it's really common for things to just burn down immediately because they're like wood and paper. And more so at the time.
Those houses are wood and paper, totally. So, but I don't think it's day 7 still for me, but I don't think.
What kind of Game of Thrones version of Boku no Natsuyasumi are you playing?
Yeah, I don't think at any point like Boku becomes the girl from that meme, like just smiling at the camera while a house burns down in the background. So I think it's gonna be fine, but I'd be worried. And I don't know, and I don't know what the point is of having Boku point that out. If that means that Boku is like kind of an anxious kid that's kind of worried about that. But in keeping with the theme, going to day 2, my first thing that I wrote down in day 2, and honestly should have wrote down a little bit more because now I'm missing some context here. First thing I wrote down is fireworks.
It's probably the rocket, right?
Yes. There's a kid.
I don't know if the when the boat leaves at night, there is like a little animation maybe because it's summer. It's also maybe. Like when the rockets they like the Japanese do these rocket fireworks. I mean.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, but there's also a kid who has some homemade rockets he fires off into the mountains. So there's that. During like right when you and breakfast, Yasuko comes in looking for ice cream. So she's the older girl you met in the boat, and she's your neighbor. I went swimming. I found a bottle cap. The only bottle cap I found the whole game was right when the first time I went swimming, and I have not found any other bottle caps. I don't know where they are.
5 so far.
Oh, 5. That's a lot. That's like 25 total.
There is 20. That's the only thing that you know. I mean, you can, if you pay a lot of attention, you can see the limits of different things like the bugs. If you check your notes, that has numbers.
Yes, but I don't know how high those numbers go. Like I have one of my bugs I think is number 91. So I don't know.
No, there is the when you catch a bug, your the name of the bug is like butterfly 1, right. The first one, and then butterfly 2, butterfly because it's a memory thing because they don't have a specific system to. So it's a way to handle that thing. But I don't know if you've done this, so maybe that's another thing that you have to do. If you grab them from the cage and you put them on the notes, it gives you like information about them, and it registers them as it's like a Pokédex. It's like this is a butterfly, and those are number, and that's the one that you say to number 91.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's like the furthest page that I've gotten into, like whatever bug that is, it marks that bug as number 91.
Okay. So there is a way. That's why like if you pay a lot of there's 2 ways of like going through those notes. There is one that is like page by page, and even if you don't have the bug, it moves so that you can see that it's like a little bit more than 100. I think. I don't remember exactly, but I checked it when it like rolled down because
it's kind of like. The equivalent of you can like when you're in a radio, you're on a car radio. You can have seek where it just goes to the next station to find, or you can just go number by number trying to tune into a station. So this is by far the most Old Man reference I think we've done in our podcast about this game from the 2000s about the 70s. So yeah. So I fished. You immediately have access to like all your fishing rods and fishing lines, which I found great.
Yeah, there's
That you
like
don't have to.
three different ones for each, for ocean and for like
Exactly,
rivers,
yeah.
right?
So you have all that stuff. You have a bike. I wrote down a lot of stuff this day because I was finding out the whole thing.
The bike
Hikari's
is something that does is not. It seems like just like part of the background, but if you go
Yeah.
and talk to it, like you put a circle in front of it, you write it, and you're like, I didn't know. I
And the
could
great
ride a
thing is
bike.
that I thought I had lost my bike the second day
It
because
returns
it just
to-
didn't show up in the same place, but it ended up showing up eventually. So I got on a seesaw with Hikari, so you can play the seesaw for
Yeah.
as long as you want.
Most of
I
those playground things you can like go and use them
Interact.
because time
Yeah.
doesn't move unless you change location. So if you're in a location you're like fishing, you can
Yep.
fish until you're like bored of fishing because
Yep.
which I think it's limited because at some point like it's limited to the fishes that you can see. I think it's not like endless.
Maybe like the bugs, yeah, because the bugs you'll have like every time you enter a new screen, there
It
will be
spawns
bugs flying
some.
around. And you can grab all of them, and that'll kind of
Yeah.
be it for that screen.
I think it's
And,
made so you don't just like fish 100 of them in a sitting. You can like fish
Yeah.
and then you have to go out and back again so it like refills.
And from what your uncle says, there's certain types of fishes that will only show up like at morning or at night, so they won't
Yeah.
be there during the afternoon and things like that. So that's
And
kind
I think it's based on the part of the rod that you're using, like the
Yes.
type, and then also like the bait that you because there are like I think I have 3 different baits.
yes, yeah. You can grab different kinds of baits. Like it's the crab you can
Mhm.
grab. There's a type of worm also.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I have found.
There is
for now.
the crab is in the beach, but there is also I forgot the name of this it's from the river. Your cousins are like next to a river talking about like finding those. And if you
okay.
talk to the pieces of like concrete that are like there as a bridge,
that you can lift,
you'll
yeah.
like raise them, and then sometimes you find them.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not
I have.
prawns, but it's like one of those kind of like shrimp.
Yeah, I think I
creatures.
have one of those. That's the other type of one.
Crawfish.
It's a crab. And
Crawfish?
The crawfish, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So and yeah, so I wrote down that I was afraid I lost my bike on day 2 because I rode into the cutscene that triggers when you run into Yasuko near her parents'
Yeah.
house, and so when that triggered, it just like I didn't have my bike by the end of that cutscene, and so I didn't know where the bike went, but it just resets.
One of
eventually,
those
so.
old timey system situations, which is like
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
despawned. Yeah.
And so that was my day 2. Do you have anything like noteworthy on your day 2?
The first thing that I've put here is my main plan was to find the bug net, but I failed, and eventually I discovered that you already have it. But
Yeah.
and if you check your menu again, it's kind of like it's a menu that is meant to like it exists in the game as well. There's a location in there, and for the net, you have your bug handling like the cage and other stuff. You have you can see the rods, but you don't see a net. You only see like a sticker of a net. So it meant like I translated that in my mind to be like a placeholder for here goes your net. So I went around talking to people and like clicking on things trying to find it, and I didn't. And then on day 3, just like as a little, I discovered that you have the net with you. Triggered it because I was sure that I already pressed all the buttons to see if they did anything. Because there is one like a shortcut for like the bug cage. There is another, and the R1 is the one that opens, like grabs the net. But I think you had to press it first on the menu and then it allows you to use that shortcut. So that's why I pressed everything and it didn't work. And eventually I discovered that I had the net. So yeah, I tried to find the net. Other than that, when fishing, found the secret base of the cousins. I did that on second day.
I took a few days to find that.
I found it and I learned about the fights, like because they talk a lot about like the beetle fights, but I didn't have any beetles, so I was like, all right, cool. I went to the girl's house, to Yasuko, which is it's like a scripted tour that she comes to the house and she tells you to follow her. Well, she'll be waiting for you somewhere, and if you go there, she explains about the house and why she's there and all that, and mostly just got a sense of the house layout and its surroundings. So that's what I noted down for the second day.
Yeah. So I was looking for the cousins for a while there until I found that base, and I found it super weird. Of like, why are you not hanging out with your cousins? Like at all? Like you never hang out with these kids. Like, do they not like you? I was feeling
I
very
will have
rejected.
thought that they should have taken you to the base first in the
Yeah,
tutorial instead of the girl presenting her. But I think the story of the girl, like it's the bigger one. Maybe I don't know.
totally. Yeah. So I there was an abandoned shack on day 3 with some cat food there, and the cats
Yeah,
will
next to the house,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
just
yeah.
this abandoned shack, and there's some cats there sometimes. There's a lot of cats around the map.
There is a booby magazine. I don't know if you saw that. Like if you
Oh, I
talk to
have
one of
found
the
it.
closets, it says like, "Oh, that's a booby
So,
magazine."
is that another universal thing of being a child of like naked women magazines in the woods? Because that's a thing I've heard from like Americans, and now there's a Japanese game, and like that. I've found some when I was a kid.
I
Just like
think it's one of those
abandoned.
things that are like people use them and then discard them in like
Uh-huh.
random places, and then you
Yeah,
found the stash of
and they
like
seem very valuable when you're a kid. I'm like, oh, I
yeah,
found
because you cannot get them,
printed
like
nudity.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And more so at our like the time that this is like trying to represent in our times before the internet, because
Yes,
nowadays
yes.
I don't think
Nowadays,
there's value in printed
like totally.
media.
Like, why would you waste ink on this? I can have so much porn on the
It's
internet.
already there everywhere.
Exactly. So I fished. I found the hermit crab on the beach, and I didn't know I could have used it as bait for like a long time.
Because
So
it only asks you to use it when you use one of the rods that needs it. Like if you use the other
exactly.
ones, it just doesn't. It's like automatic.
And
Because
it kind of doesn't surface like there's no one like unified inventory page where you can see all the things you have. So, like the fishes you caught like are in the list somewhere, but like the bugs you get are
Yes,
actually living in the cage that
that's
you have.
something different that I don't understand. Why the fishes and the bugs are so different, like in menu
Yeah.
and because I understand that you're recording the bugs for your project, for your school project, and then also the beetle fights. But then the fishes are just like you have 20 of these, and they don't seem to be like it just like marks
not-
how many.
Yeah,
you
it just
have.
marks what fish you caught, but I think it doesn't show you like just throwing them back into the water. So it's kind of like ambiguous the first time you fish of like, am
I don't think you're
keeping
throwing
these
them
fish?
back.
You're not, but where are these fishes? Like, are you keeping fish? This would smell really bad.
I mean,
because like the bugs you can keep alive for a
Don't
while.
Aren't in the menu doesn't have like a bucket that seems to represent the idea that you're bringing them to be because it's food for.
It is food, and also like on one of the first days, your aunt and uncle will say that if you catch a certain
The big
like
one, no?
a
Right?
big one, they'll cook it and serve it. So like my thing fishing every time now is that I want
Finding
to
it.
catch a big fish, and so I caught a very big fish a couple days ago, and I was like, "Is this it? Is this big enough?" And I was like, "No, it didn't trigger anything." I talked to my uncle.
I think
like,
it's
no one
specific.
cares about the fish.
He mentions when you find him on the side, like if you go morning or night, you might be able to catch. So I think it's a specific type of
Yeah.
fish and also a specific size.
Exactly, because
But
I've
I'm not
caught
sure.
the type of fish he talks about, which is, I think, I don't think I wrote it down here. It's a marbled. No, the one I caught that was really big is a marbled sole, but there's another type of fish that you can only catch on certain times of day with a certain type of rod that I've caught a few of, but I think they're too small to be mentioned. But
Okay.
it's just yeah, I don't know where that's going to. There was a jellyfish dance at some point. Yeah,
Like an animation, right?
yeah, an animation of the jellyfish dance. So I think that kind of counts as a dream, maybe. And that was the end of my day 3.
My day 3, well, discovered the net and caught a lot of
Yep.
bugs. And my first beetle, I got super excited. I got wet below the bridge that connects the beach house with the guest house.
Yep.
There is a thing in there that if you like talk to it, like you interact with it, it throws water at you.
Oh, okay.
But
I
it's just like
I
a
don't think
random
I have
animation.
found that. Yeah,
And I don't think it happened. It's where the around the bike is. It's like, and you can see like it's dripping water. So if you go and like click on it, it does that.
Yeah, okay. The other bridge, the big bridge around town that you can walk under to get to the kind of like the woods where your cousins are and stuff like that. I remember from the Tim Rogers video that in the first game, that's where you can actually do beetle fights against other people that are not your cousins. So I don't know if that's going to open up at some point. So I on day 4, I think that's when I found.
Well, before we move, I have other things.
Okay.
On my day 3, I went to the clinic, met the doctor and the nurse. I gave a massage to the doctor because if you talk to him enough times, well, there's always just the main dialogue, then a secondary dialogue, and then the one that they repeat, which is the secondary one. And then, but like for the doctor, if he says that he has sore shoulders, and you offer, there's a menu that says, "Do you want to give him a massage?" And if you do it, it's like a rhythm game. I don't know if you've done it, but if you do it, he gives you money.
I remember I saw someone mention the massage minigame, and I was very intrigued of who was giving whom a massage.
Yeah, you go like behind your the doctor and you start like karate chop him.
Right.
And then if you do it like you start to like you have to do like D-pad left and right. Mm-hmm. There is no like interface or anything. You use like left, right. And then after a couple of them, he says something. If he says like you're going too fast or too slow, you have to. But it's on your own. You have to do it perfect a couple times before he says like, "Oh, you're really good at this. Here for your troubles," and then he gives you 10 yens. So that's the only...
So that was one of the things I wanted to figure out. Is like, when am I gonna have any money? Because there's things you can buy like ice cream, but I have no money.
Yeah, that's the only place that I've heard found money. Then at some point you find your aunt and like the house and you do the same. Like she asks, she doesn't have, but like you can offer a massage, and if you do it, she gives you another 10 yen.
So Boku is kind of like a masseuse game, if you think about it. It's masseuse simulator.
It's the only way to earn money in this like tight community because there's not a lot of other things happening.
If you describe a game as like your your protagonist figures out he needs money, and the only way he can get money is doing massages, I picture a very different type of game than this.
It's too close to Yakuza, and it's like based on like Japanese
exactly
reality games. Like that's Yakuza. That's not.
Yeah, it's like your parents can take care of you, and now you got to go do massages on older people.
And then I say here before on my date also like I followed the little girl's recommendation, which is the fortune thing that we said. She said to go to the second floor of the house, and I found my aunt drying clothes. And then she said to go night to her sister's room, and she says something like, "No, funny business," or something like that. And then Boku, when there is always like a weird conversation, or like a double entendre or something, he always looks back at the camera and does the kind of side head thing. Like,
I haven't noticed that. I do remember the line of like, "No funny business." I was like, there will be no funny business. He's a tiny little boy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no.
Yeah. He's only gonna ask a lot of weird questions. And that night I learned about the father of the girls, that he was a painter.
Oh yes.
And then she told me to go to the dock at the evening, and that's when I saw the nurse having a conversation with the boatman, and then got to the clinic and met the nurse and doctor. I swim twice by mistake because if you go to the water and you press triangle, you fish. But if you press circle, you jump, and then you start swimming.
Yes, it has happened to me of the accidental swim, and it's kind of bad because like you have to go like swim kind of a bit to get to a place where you can just like walk out of the water.
There's like a couple places where you can. It's a shortcut kind of thing because it allows you to. I don't think it consumes that much time, and it allows you to go to different parts of the secret beach that we will comment on, but like also some like nearby like close beach areas. I discovered another cap. I don't know if you want the spoiler, because I have here the location. Do you want to know where it is? It says girls' room around the books. So there's like a little like hole around the books that you can go into, and in there is like a shiny thing. And if you press...
okay, because I thought you would only find bottle caps swimming.
No. I don't know if I found a couple swimming, but this is
the only one I found swimming.
Yeah, I found one. Well, two. I think in every swimming. Like different area of swimming, I think you will have find one. Yeah. But there's 25, so I think they're everywhere. You just have to find the shiny
particles. Shiny little icon. Yeah.
What else? After sleeping, I got the cool ocean animation with jellyfish. So maybe that's a dream.
Yeah, maybe that
because that was a kind of like, it's just I kind of left the Steam Deck on the side because after sleeping it prompts you to like save and all that.
Yeah.
And I might have left it there, and then I saw that and I was like, what is that? So maybe that was...
Like you thought the day was over, and there was this one little bit thing. Yeah. So on day 4, Hikari wants ice cream. So that she shows up at the house early. to get ice cream for your aunt. I went to the clinic at noon. Nothing happened. That's what I commented on before. And then I kicked a tree by accident, and a beetle showed up. So that's how I found a beetle. And I didn't remember there were beetle fights in this game yet at this point. So then I walked a little bit and found the secret hideout. And that's when they tell you about the bug fights. And I was like, oh, yeah, there's bug fights in this game, which is this very Japanese thing that when I found out about it, I think around when Pokemon came out, of like people going like, this is what it's based on. Is like Japanese kids like put bugs into like little rings and fight. And I was like, the original
Digimon Tamagotchi kind of thing from Bandai. I think the first one was from like the Beatles as well.
Right.
So they made the digital version of like that Tamagotchi kind of thing, and then that turned into Tamagotchi and I think, or at least Digimon.
Cool. I did not know that. So yeah, so I found the secret hideout. I got a cursed fortune at the statues. I don't know yet what that fortune really, if it tells you it's like how eventful your day is going to be or what, but sometimes I get a bad fortune. Sometimes I get like an average.
I'm not sure, but I think it might be related to like bugs and fish spawns or something. Like maybe the big ones or like the rare ones you find when you have a good luck day. Or maybe it's that. I haven't connected it to anything, but like I did it a couple times. I got in both versions, and I'm like, I haven't seen that connection like so like apparent. Like, oh, it's obviously this or it's obviously that. So who knows?
Yeah. I tried guessing dinner for the first time. It was the first time I talked to my aunt, and that she gave me that option. I don't think I have guessed it right because she always says like you give her what you think you choose one of the three options, and she says, well, at dinner we'll find out, and then dinner has come and gone 3 times and she hasn't said anything, so I think I just got it wrong.
You have to find her at night after dinner, and she tells you if you got it right.
Oh, I thought she would say something at dinner.
No, she does it after.
Oh, so I might have gotten it right.
I got it, like I have a note probably somewhere because it happened to me like later in the game when I figured, because you have to find her early, like close to, I think midday, close to, or like maybe evening
when she's already cooking dinner. Yeah,
and she always tells you that there is like a hint on the fridge, but then the fridge is full of things, so it's like it's not.
Yeah, I
don't know if you have to
check
fridge. It before, maybe early, and then later. And then you have to compare which ingredients are not there to be able to call it.
Maybe, yeah. What I've been doing is like I'll go in early and look at the fridge and kind of try to remember all the things I saw and see if one of the options that shows up later kind of matches. So I remember like one time there was clearly squid in the fridge, and one of the options had squid in it. So I was like, oh, probably that. But now I don't know if I got it right because I didn't know you had to go.
I'll try to. I don't know if today or tomorrow. I'll try to remember to do the checking the fridge first, and then trying to find her later, and then checking again before asking her about the question. Because I don't know maybe you could earn something doing that, or
probably get something.
It's one of those. It's like they gamify a lot of, because sometimes they say something like the sugar water thing, and it's like if you go at night you can get it from the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then if you think it's like just kids saying, it's like dialogue, but most of the time it connects with something like game in the game that actually does something. So I don't know what it is, but that's the game. The game is just finding all these little nuggets of like quirky stuff as you see the story of the characters, and you learn more about them.
Totally. And it has that element of like summer vacation a lot of times, like, going to someone else's house, or like in this case, like going to your aunt and uncle's place and just being in a place that's new for you, and you're learning kind of how things, how is their day-to-day life, what's the stuff that you have there of like, oh, you can get sugar water to get bugs, because like you said you grew up in a small town. Like I grew up in a big town, but I would go to my dad's family's place at a small town, and so I remember doing a lot of that, just walking around on dirt roads and just like going to like kind of the closest thing that we have to as the woods. But exactly. Kind of just being in a more rural town, or like a beach town, like is the case with Boku, and so kind of like being in a different environment. So just the mild exploring that you can do as a child is fascinating enough because it's a new environment. It's not
Yeah.
where you already are every day. So just the change of scenery is enough. And kind of like playing the game is enough of a change of scenery for me as well. Of like, oh, I'm going to visit Boku's town now for
Yeah.
a bit, for an hour here. So I got the sugar water that day on day
Okay.
4.
So
And
that's the second way you get for the audience. Is the second way you get the Beatles. You can with sugar water. I don't know if you saw the icon, but it's Yakult. This like milky beverage
Oh.
with lactobacills, or I don't know.
Oh,
how
it's
that-
I didn't see the icon.
It
yeah.
looks
So
like
you-
like that.
But
So I
are
think
you
that's what you're
using
spreading.
Yakult to draw the bugs, or do you think you're just like filling an empty bottle of Yakult with sugar water?
I don't know if the translation is sugar water because they mentioned maybe like or maybe it's like a Calpis kind of beverage thing.
Right.
And maybe in the game we will have to check if they do the brand and then they just translate it to something more universal like a sugar
Right.
water. Because, but
So this is-
you might
this
be might be true.
Might be
also,
the
like-
equivalent of Alex Kidd's hamburger when it's actually a nigiri.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when you go to these specific trees, there's like a couple
I
of them
found 2.
around.
I found 2.
I found
yeah.
like 4.
Oh, okay.
I think. But yeah, there's one in the house, like next to the house immediately. There is the one that is near the kids' hideout.
Yeah.
And then I think there is one close to the clinic or like in the woods area.
Yeah. Those are the 2 I found. The one close to
You can
hideout
check
and
them in
one
the map.
close to the clinic.
And it
Oh,
looks
okay.
a different color.
Okay.
It's a blue tree.
I
so-
should look more. I should look at that map more. I very seldom look at that screen that has a map and the other stuff here.
That's why I know, like, it's like that's a blue tree, and like, does it tell me that I already marked it with like the sugar water, or it does tell me that it's one of those trees? Anyway, if you press triangle in one of those, you spread the water, and if you press circle, you kick them, and you, as far as I can tell, you can kick them endlessly, and maybe bugs keep coming because I've done it like a lot of times, and I found like 5 different beetles. Well, not same beetle, but like different.
Yeah, but in
versions.
my experience, what happens is that if you put the sugar water there and wait for the next day to to see
Yeah, there's
if
always
bugs showed
one.
up, there'll always be one. But yeah, the bugs that you find that way with the sugar water tend to be better bugs than the bugs that you get from just kicking the tree. So like you get the basic beetles from kicking the tree. But with the sugar water, I've been able to find more like different types with better stats of bugs.
Yeah, because as I can see, I have like 5 different beetles, types of beetles, and it's just size what you see, and then eventually when you fight with them, you discover that they have some like
So I think
secondary abilities or something.
I've had like 4 types of beetles, like many beetles, but like divided into 4 types. So like the small little beetle, who's like the little stag, I think it's
little
the name.
stag, yeah.
Little stag. So I had a big stag beetle,
Okay.
a sawtooth beetle,
Yeah,
and
that's
the
a common,
oni
like the
beetle.
most common. Yeah, okay. I have 2 extra ones, which is the oni beetle, which is also a small one but like strong, and the gold oni, which I got. So I don't know if you check all the other things that are on the beetle fighting thing, but when you beat one of their beetles, it appears on a trades list, and the way to trade is you grab your beetle from your cage, but instead of putting it in the fight, you put it in the trade.
Yes.
And then they have a value system, like the more it wins, the valuable it gets, and you, in order to trade it for their beetles, you have to match their trade value. And
Yeah, I saw
so
that. I haven't traded any, but I saw how
I just
it
got that
works.
one because I didn't have it, and like, well, it's easier to get it from here than to find it on the, I think. And when you record it says like it's really rare. So I was like, it's not a good beetle to fight, at least in my case, but it's for my collection of like bugs.
Cool. So yeah, so on day 5,
Before I did some, I haven't talked about my day. On day 4, I started to do this thing which I talk to the girl at night, so she tells you what to do next day, and I put a to-do list to be like, all right, this is what she said to do. So it's like, I had my own personal note of swim to find rocket, because they have a conversation about the neighbor flying a rocket and something. It's somewhere, so you have to find it. So I was like, maybe swim, because they mentioned it got lost on the sea, maybe. I didn't find it. And the girl recommended Jinso statue, sea fishing, visit Old Sister at night, again, and clinic noon. And then on the day, she said clinic entrance night, sister night, park evening, in duck evening. So it changes from night previous day, what she tells you, that on the current day it also changes. So maybe because you already done some things, it tries to tell you something new to do. I'm not sure, but like, so I watched the title screen and let the attract mode run a couple times to see hints about what to do or where to go. I don't remember if I find any. I think if I found a location, but it seemed like it was not accessible. The big sister came again to take me do something on the house. I think it's at the time I noted this is definitely a game mechanism to help people understand the game better, because she grabs you and brings you somewhere.
Yes, I've done that. Where
she did the Jinso statues. That's why we got the same. She takes you to the Jinso statue, which is the fortune statues.
Gives you the fortune for the day. Yes.
And she tells you the little story about the 3 seconds graveyard thing. And I think she brings you to the Io is the name of the neighbor that is like throwing the rockets. And I think she has a relationship with him from previously, and she's kind of weird about that place. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I don't remember that exactly, but I have been seeing him, the neighbor who has the rockets. He's always in the cemetery now. For me. Like every day I go there and he's like just there, and he hasn't found his rockets and stuff like that. But
he's like, I'm sure it's somewhere around here.
Yeah, but he's always at the cemetery now for me.
I feel the bug cage made me interact with the whole system, because I thought it was just like you trap them and that's it. But it's like you put them in a cage, and if you feel it, it tells you that you can pocket it. Like if you get an extra one, it says like your cage is full, but you can pocket it. And I was like, all right. And then I discovered later that if you pocket one, as soon as you move from the cage somewhere else, the pocket one appears in that space. I don't know if you can pocket many.
That's really good. I filled the cage on like I think day 2, and then I started just like taking them out every day. Like before I go to sleep, I'll catalog them and then just kill them with the dehydrant and just put it in.
That's when this day is also when I interacted with the whole system. So you have your box and the cage. You enter the cage and you can see them like realistically, and you move in a weird camera. And you can press a button and you see them like kind of spread in a menu.
Yes.
You can grab them from there and you can bring them to like a paper box thing that allows you to catalog them. It has the notes thing that we mentioned before. It also has a syringe, needles, and magnifying glass. The magnifying glass allows you to like see it closer, and they put the model in front of you, and you have to like you can rotate the camera and get closer and everything. And then the other thing kills them and like puts them. You don't have to kill them to put them on the thing on the right.
You don't.
You can put them live. And so I killed a couple of them because I thought you have to, and then I put some lives, and it's like, oh, they just stay there, and that's endless. So I was like, all right, I guess I can just say, because I don't know. So I think you have to kill at least one, because that's a project kind of thing. But I just have been just saving all of them.
Before I realized how to use the syringe to like kill them and pin them there, I didn't kill any of them, and they would stay there and just like flap their wings eventually. But like for some reason, maybe I'm a psychopath, but like I just thought you had to like even though they'll stay there, like, but before the month is done, like I'll have to kill these things and keep them here. But so I
think at least one, because maybe that's the one that you're like, because you only have one space to put one of the one in front on the paper thing. So maybe that's the one that you choose for your project.
And so that's what I'm doing actually. Like now, every time I catch a bug out on like the town, if it's a bug that I already have, I'll just release it like as soon as I catch it. Like I won't keep it in the cage and take it home. Like I only want one of each. I'm
I only get one of each. Yeah, same. But I always get the biggest one, or sometimes you capture one that had like a crown thing on the UI. And I'm guessing that's the biggest one or something, so I always save that.
Maybe,
instead.
it will show either a crown, or there's some that it will just say big. Yeah.
I think the big is like bigger than the one that you have, and I think the crown is like, this is the best version
of this. This is the biggest of one of these that you've gotten. So, but I've been ignoring that of like, so if it doesn't say new, I'll just release them, and I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's like because of Pokemon as well. I'm just trying to like find the one with the best EVs or whatever. After that, I had my first bug fight and lost. And then
I won my first 2, then lost the third, then lost like 5 in a row, and then I got a little like I think it was maybe the Sawtooth or one of the little stags that I'm just winning with all the time, and things are good now.
We're gonna have a conversation because I have something to say about that like a little bit further. had bees stung me. There is like a beehive that I
I
messed with
heard
it.
that. I haven't found the beehive, but I've heard other people talking about the beehive, and that you can actually eventually just like defeat the beehive and it'll open up a
I'm
little
not sure
new area.
how. I'm guessing there is a way.
I
to
don't
do
know
it,
how as well.
because
I just saw people
if you
saying
get
that.
close enough to it and you click circle or triangle, it pokes. It doesn't use the net, the kit. It uses the fishing rod, and it like messes with it, and then it falls, and then they sting you, and then you appear in your home. And then the mom
okay.
said like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna die," or something like that. That's like quick message, and that's
Right.
You lose time, but I don't think you lose too much time. Maybe a couple. Maybe that's a way to like shortcut your way back in case that you have to be fast or something. And then I went swimming and found another dino cap, which is the one that probably you found first, because my first swimming was like, oh, I wasn't meant to do that, and I just went back.
The first one I found is on that little like little corridor between the house and where the dry dock is with the boat. So if you swim up there till the end,
that's
of that
probably
thing.
the one that this one. I think it's always the same. Like they are specifically somewhere. They're not like randomly put. So if we compare,
I just don't remember which one it is. Like
I started after this. I started saying like these dinosaurs because they're like dinosaurs specific. Yeah, and that was my fourth day.
And so day 5 is I have one thing written down is like that I won 2 beetle battles, lost the third, found another 2 beetles, and set the sugar water on the 3. Like this day, I phoned it in hard.
You're like, I'm not gonna. I was like, watch Dragon Ball all night.
I think this was like, so when was this was last Friday, I think, the 5th. No, it was this Monday.
Yeah,
so that
sounds like
probably
a Monday. Yeah,
that sounds like because like I started playing last Friday. Like I had a save game with the first day done, and so I went back to play it on the first Friday, so on the 2nd of August, and so so Monday on the 5th, it was the first day that I actually had to play it after working all day. I think that this was it for me.
Yeah, you weren't like so excited to like figure out stuff. I don't have a lot of notes on that day also. Like I talk about there's a conversation about naming the river around
yes,
breakfast.
I got that, and I don't know how to progress that at all. Like they asked me
I
already.
did it. Yeah, I did it.
How did you figure out? Because when they asked me like, hey, do you have a name for the river already? And I was like, nope, I don't. And that was it.
Let me go through my list and then I tell you.
Okay.
I fished something, won some beetle fights, still not sure about how the system works. That's what I put here. Met Io in the cemetery, so I met him the next day, not on the 4th of the 5. And I discovered that I could go up on the gravestones. So if you go on that side, there is like you can jump around and then like go to different levels and read more gravestones, and they have cool. like some like little family like this happened or that happened. And
there's
if
one
you go
of
back
the
to
gravestones
Yasuko, you can talk to her about it.
One of the gravestones is of someone that died on a bombing on 1945.
Yeah,
so it's pretty.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
I think
heavy.
it says more like on the fires of like, or something like. It's not. It doesn't say. Well, at least I remember saying like. I remember thinking bombing. That's a reference to the bombing, but it says fires.
Maybe
what came after. Yeah.
Fires. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. And do you have anything else on day 5?
Yeah. Discover a new part of town. Probably that's the secret beach, because that it took me some time to find it, and then when the game told me about it, I was like, I already.
Yeah, I found the secret beach by swimming, so I swam. I saw that since it's like a ramp, you can just like swim over there and just get out of the water that way. Also, interesting thing about swimming is that circle, which is the button you use to get out of the water when you can. If you're not near any place to get out of the water, it's just he'll
pull your
up
pants, right?
His shorts. Yeah, you pull up your shorts. That's all.
Because it's also the button that you use to grab things that like the caps that you find. But if you like this, he's doing a weird movement, but I think he's pulling his shorts.
Yeah,
right?
He's pulling up his pants. You know, it's funny.
And then I discover why. So we haven't mentioned him, but the guest that is in the house is the blonde man.
Yes,
looks like a hippie.
What is his name again?
Simon.
Simon, yes.
So I discovered why Simon is there, and he said that if you go to the park at the evening, you see him taking pictures of the sunset, and he says like he wants to capture the perfect sunset picture. And you met him at the first day, and he takes a picture of you. And every time that you do something, I don't know if it's story important or something, he appears, takes a picture of you and the other characters, and then if you ask him later, he gives you the picture. So there is a collection of photos that I have, like 3 of them.
Cool.
Which I think it's a way to record like important moments that you have to. They are descripted ones, I think.
Like milestones.
Yeah, because the first
game.
one is all together. The second one I think I got is the one with the older sister when you go to the graveyard and all that. And then the third one is when the small sister, when she shows you the secret.
Yeah, I got
beach.
that one. When she showed me the secret beach, he showed up and took a picture of us. Yeah.
And then I saw the mom, and she said that she's outside of the house where the bike is, and she's like, I thought she was coming today. And then if you talk to her, she mentions that a new guest is coming, and she messed up the date and maybe tomorrow.
Yes, that happens.
So I like, no,
well.
tomorrow, find who's coming. And so naming the river. After you get, because he asked about what is the name of that river in between the house and the other part where the crawfish are, and they say like there is no name, and like you should name it. And then at some point they ask you if you have name it, and you're like no, and they say like maybe talk to Simon about it. And if you go and talk to Simon at night, probably he says like, oh, you have to name a river, that's a big responsibility, and blah blah blah. And then I don't know if this is always the case or if you can ask someone else or anything, but like in my version of it, he says you name it Little River, but like little is little as understood by the Japanese, like Ritoru. So the name of the river ends up being Ritoru River, which is just like little but pronounced like in a Japanese way.
Right.
And the kid and then you have to go to the river and talk to it, and you say like your name Ritoru, but I don't know what that is. And then he twists the head.
Cool. So yeah, day 6 starts with the new guest, Yoshika arrives. She's a college-age girl who plays the guitar. And we'll see more of her. Yes. We'll see more of her. I won some more beetle fights. I fished a lot, it says here. And also, so speaking of the grave we just talked about in 1945, if you go to the TV and click on it, it will tell you that what's on TV is the Hiroshima Peace Memorial for the 30th anniversary of the bombings. Okay. So that's another way they reference that in the game, which I think is, it's kind of a very Japanese thing of like, even in like what's pretty much a kid's game, they'll still
it's always there
importance to that, so because it's such a huge event and so influential in the culture that a tragedy like that, and so Hikari at the end of the day told me that she would show me the secret beach tomorrow, and that's what I have for day 6.
For day 6, I met Yoshika as well, which is this girl. I named the river. I went to the river and gave the name. Right. Fish, bugs, water. We haven't talked about this, but like, there is a conversation with the cousins at some point about some plants near the house that they're gonna have a competitions about like which one is better, and you get assigned one. So I think you're meant to be watering them because there's there is a hose in there that you can kick and it moves in between. It's like vines on like going up of the house in the front part. So if you kick the thing, I think the right one is yours. The biggest brother has the left one, and the middle one is the youngest brother. So you can. I've been watering all of them. So you kick the hose and then you open the water and it goes directly into one. There is a way to get yourself wet as well because it points to you, and then when you open it, it gets you wet. Cool. I've been doing not since the first day, but I've been doing it after. I also got at the very beginning of the game a thing for like exercising daily, and it tells you that you have to do that in the park. But I haven't gotten anything out of it. I thought I will, because in the Shinshan game, which is the only one that I have played completely, you start the days by doing like some exercises with everyone, but it's like a forced thing. And in here, I thought that maybe someone was gonna be there and you go and you collect. But like, have you done something with that?
No, I've heard people talk about that it happens early in the morning in the park. Where you can do exercises with the rest of the family. And as soon as I read about that, there was one of the days, first thing I did, breakfast was over, I ran over to the park. There was no one at the park. So I've
done it like immediately and there's no one there. So I'm not sure how that happens. But like, it's empty. Like it's, and I think you can do it daily, and maybe if you do it all days, you get something. But that's one of the things that I'm not gonna get.
Maybe. Who knows?
And then in my game on day 6, I met the girls at the beach because the Hikari told me to be at the beach early or like midday. So I met the girls at the beach and they were like hanging there.
She told me to go to the beach at noon in one of the days, and I didn't know what beach she was talking about. So I
it's the boat one. I think that's the most beachy area of that. Like that has access to the.
What happened?
Boat, yeah.
What happened to me that day is that I didn't see them at the beach, but they did show up at dinner time asking to use the onsen to take a bath.
So that's why I know I met the girls at the beach. I had a conversation with them. They're just like there at the beach. They have a little conversation about like being at the beach and like summer and something. And then at the end of the day, they go and ask to be bait. And then the little brother asks. I don't know if you talk to him when they are there.
Yes, and he's mad.
Yeah, he's like, why are they here?
Yeah, why do they get to use our bath? Yeah. So, and then, I don't know if you did this, but you can go up there after dinner, and they're like kind of hanging out around the onsen area, and you can talk to them.
Yeah. I think that's where Hikari like tells you that to do next day.
Yes, she can get the fortune. Like apparently she takes that little paper thing everywhere because you can ask her for
just like a
anywhere.
witchy girl. And then day 7. What is your last day of this week?
Day 7 is the day she took me to the secret beach. Hikari did, and we got the picture taken by Simon. I found the oni beetle because I put the sugar water in the trees, but I forgot about it, so I only came back to the trees on the 7th. So I got the oni beetle. I caught a gigantic marbled sole fishing. It's really the biggest fish I ever caught. It's really big one, but no one said anything about my gorgeous fish. And I talked to Yoshika while she played the guitar, and she talked about like having learned it from like a boy she knew and things like that. So that's
from Spain, I think, right? I think she mentioned
maybe. I don't remember that
because
detail,
it's a Spanish like song.
It's she's like, and it's the only song she was able to like memorize. Yeah. So those are the things I did. I tried to guess dinner again. I didn't write that down here, but I remember that. But I didn't know you had to go ask after dinner, so I still don't know if I got it right or not. And that was kind of it. That's where I'm at right now. And kind of like hoping for more things to maybe get me more interested in the game, and definitely gonna try to play a few days with the slower clock. See if I can fit more things in a day, and if that will make me more interested. And if not, I'll just go back to normal speed.
The goodest thing is that you can always like change it in the middle of the.
Yeah.
So it doesn't force you to like to have to like reset the day or something.
Yeah.
You can just do it because sometimes I have to waste time, so I put it in fast, so I don't have to do like 100 times changing location. It's also again, I think it's just half the time, so you get double the opportunity to do stuff probably.
Yeah.
So last day 7, I lost terrible in beetles. One beetle like beat all of mine. And
I had a very bad day.
And that beetle got super strong. So I'm not. We can talk a little bit more about this because I started to game the system a little bit with this. I'm not proud of it, but like
how? But let me know.
Yeah. But I'll come back as a closing talk to that. I talked to Simon about Yoshika. She entered the conversation and borrowed a cigarette, and that's when I discovered that she has a cigarette. How do you call those things where like you put the ashes? Ashtray. She has an ashtray full of like cigarettes on her room. I met Hikari for a tour, which is like the beach thing, the secret beach thing, and I found it weird that they do it at the end of the week. Then the nurse mentioned that she's having a date tomorrow. Well, the next day, which I missed. I didn't find them. And she wasn't there. I think day 7 is a Friday in game. No. It's Saturday, but that's and then because the next day they close the clinic and you can find the.
I wonder if it's accurate. Like if we can go back and
I 100%. Yeah. They will do it like that. It's not our year is not synced with that year currently, but it will be cool to also be on the same day. I also met because I went to the clinic. Hikari told me that to go to the clinic at the evening, and it was empty, and I was like. That's weird, but there's a room that it's always empty, and I went there, and there was a girl in there.
Oh, and there's that room.
yeah, and that girl mentions that she's really sick, and I don't want to. You should try to find her until like
Okay.
because it's another. I think she's a ghost. That's what I
Oh,
think
okay.
she's because there's no one there and nobody mentions her and it's just her and you have a conversation. She's kind of strange about it, so I
Yeah.
think she's just a ghost that.
But it fits. That's the kind of things you would kind of like your head would come up with as a kid, just exploring these places alone. I think that it's very fitting that you don't have to take it as a real ghost or not. It doesn't matter. It's Boku. Like Boku thinks he saw a girl,
Yeah.
and it.
No, I mean,
That's all that matters.
you have a conversation with a girl, but nobody
Yeah.
else addresses that, and
And
that
no-
girl.
yeah, it
there's
doesn't
not
matter.
a lot of people on that island.
Exactly. That happened to you. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the explanation is. If it's supernatural or imagination, it's like that happened to Boku, so it's part of the vacation.
And so, just as a before we close, I lost terrible. So the next day, I gamed the Beatles thing because I played again. I went immediately to go the Beatles thing, and I lost again, and that Beetle became like level 20 or what. Like it beat my 10 Beatles 2 times, so it was too strong, and then just like destroyed everything. And I was like, because the kid doesn't change that Beetle, I'm just gonna be stuck in here. And the more I play, the more I'm gonna lose because my Beatles are not getting better. And that was on the weak side because you can change. I don't know if you can change. There's a place that says weak, and like and then you can change it to strong and like king or something like that, which is like different levels of like. So what I did is like, it got me really angry, so I reset the day, so I didn't lose.
Oh.
I went back because you only save at the end. And then I figured out how this emulator does like snapshots of like saving, and then it's like I need to find a strategy to destroy this Beetle because if not, it's gonna destroy me every time, and I'm not gonna be able to engage with this. So I just saved, played with one Beetle, tried to because it's kind of like randomized. Sometimes they do something that makes you win, and sometimes not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not like yours is bigger. It's not like Pokemon, which is like fairly.
Totally.
Yeah, it's more like they behave strangely. There's a lot of randomness.
My best
to it.
Beetle was not my strongest or biggest Beetle. It's a Beetle that started winning for some reason.
And the more they win, the better they get, and the more that you can destroy. So I started to like just save and try to be so I could understand a little bit more of the rules. And what I discovered at the moment, if it happens to you, this is the easy way to do it. Is like if you change the rank, the other kid tries to put another a Beetle. So if you come back to the other one, it just like resets. It doesn't destroy it. It just like moves them around. So that is
Cool.
that's the way to like move them around in case you have a wall in front of you and you want to just like move it around in order to get more things. But that allowed me to be like, all right, I'm gonna kind of game the Beetle system this day, so I get like a little bit. That I did the next day because again I lost terribly 2 times in a row, and I was like, I need to recover from this destruction. I don't know. That's our week. The plan for this podcast that we discuss is to do it once a week and discuss our weekly findings. Any closing remarks before we close the podcast?
Well, the one thing I remembered is not really closing remarks. It's just that I haven't done the save scumming thing, but one thing that has been hanging over my mind is that for some reason, this is the only game that will not recognize my memory cards on this emulator, and I've switched like different virtual memory cards around, and it will just never recognize. So I've just do a save state at the end of every day when I go to sleep, and like. I'm just hoping those save states keep working. Like I'm not updating the emulator during all of this, so there's no problem. But like every time I go to save, I go like, did it really save? Can I trust save states? But yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it should be fine. I think that it's like this as a first episode, it has been a great illustration of how the experience is kind of parallel but open-ended and can be different on our sides. And I don't see how much, now that we've played a whole week, how much more there is for the game to open up, and how much it's just going to be
I played a couple extra days, so I know it opens up. Because you've seen that there are some areas that you feel like you should be able to go there, but there is something limiting you. And those, the couple days after, something happens that allows you to go to one of those areas.
That's great to know.
So, and that opens like a whole other like kind of areas to interact with, and the stories keep advancing, and you keep having deeper conversations about stuff. Because you stop being like the new kid and you start to become it's Boku. You're part of
And
this
that
community.
that relates to the thing that you were talking about earlier, where like summer vacation is endless when you're a kid. Of like, it makes total sense that in a week you're like, you're Boku, you're here, you've always been here. Of like none of this is new right now. This has been going on for 7 days, and 7 days are an eternity to a kid that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also like you probably, I don't know how many bugs in total you more or less found, but I was like 40, 50, but seeing that there were like 100, I was like, I haven't been finding more, and I feel like I explore like, other than the bees, there are not many that I haven't been like, that seems like a bug that I don't have access to. So when this other area opened up, like I found a lot of different new things like fishes and bugs, and I'm like, all right, I don't know if that's gonna happen again. Like if there is another area or a couple another, like it's a weekly thing, like the week, I think most of the stuff is gonna just repeat, but then every week it will be nice that every week you get a new character, a couple of characters, or a new or something big enough that allows you to play the next week not as close to the previous one. So
I'd
it
hope
changes
so.
enough. I think because of the Ghost Girl, I think that's just a reminder of something else. If you find her and you have a couple conversations with characters around that, I have a theory, but I haven't confirmed it. But
no, we'll talk about it next week.
I'll
have seen her.
If you find her, because you have to find like this kind of windows, like space windows to again, like this one of those things that if you don't go there at the right time, you missed it. But if they find, like, I think there's always something, it's the nostalgia of like, but there's always like kind of dark lingering. There's also like the plot of the rocket thing, the kid looking like that's something that needs to deliver still. And so there's probably other things there. But so far, I'm having a great time with it. I'm really enjoying playing it one day, real in-game day and in real time.
Yeah,
I haven't missed the one. Yeah,
it would like I've tried playing this game another time before, and I've played this Shin-Chan game a little bit before, and I think that if I had at those times tried this approach of one day at a time, I would have gotten further into the game like I'm getting in now. I think the other times I kind of played it too fast, like 2-3 days in a sitting, and got easily bored because the game hadn't opened up a lot yet, and because it is repetitious in its nature, and so it was easy for me to like just not want to come back, and having this kind of drip feed is a better way to play this.
Yeah, I think I will recommend it if whoever is listening to this. I think we're gonna share it on the Discords that we are playing the game currently. So and also if you listen to this and you wanna share some of your like things that you have discovered in the games or thoughts, send it our way and we'll
send it our way. And also we would love to have a guest on, I think, in the next few episodes in the next weeks, and kind of have other perspectives of people that are doing this this August.
But I think it's the best way to do it so it doesn't get boring, as we mentioned, like
and if you want to get into this now, like don't you don't have to go like because it's August. Just get into it now and start playing a day at a time, and it will be fun. You don't have to do the whole August thing.
Ideally, I think if this is in the future, like a year in the future, like a couple months or something, and you're like playing this and somebody told you like, oh, these guys talk about that, you should play your week. And so what our plan is to at least record 4 of these, like one after each week of the game, and just discuss what our findings. I think this is a little long because we had to do a lot of like talking about around the game, but I think the next one is going to be more direct. Maybe if there is some interesting questions that you have, or get it to us and we try to like research or something to get some more information.
Totally. And I think that once we end this and we could actually just free ourselves to go read about this and kind of get it deep into the like game facts and answers about this game, kind of like do one extra episode at the end after we've both done the playthroughs and kind of just come back to a whole like post-mortem with the game, could be really interesting. But yeah, we'll see how this evolves week by week. And Fáyer, where can people just like keep up with you and your new game?
You can just Twitter is the best place for that for me. It's Fáyer Dev, and the game is called Arco, and I think it's Arco Game Dev or something like that. The account. yeah, over there I'm like sharing what I'm playing mostly, or like what are the games that I'm making, or what shows or TV. It's mostly like focused on pop culture stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm also on Twitter, the Hell site. You can find me there. Unfortunately, that's where we still hang out.
Yeah. Yeah, Discords
That's
are too
it.
close to like share, because like, yeah, you can join communities, but like you probably hang in some Brazilian ones and I hang in Mexicans ones, and then
Yeah,
like
actually, it's a totally like unrelated Discord for like a podcast that I support on Patreon. So like I can't even divulge that here because like if you're
yeah.
not paying for that, and it's not a podcast about games even. It's just that it happens that the people in that Discord decided to play this. But yeah, like talk to us on Twitter if you're on Twitter. If not, I don't know how whatever, comment on whatever this is because this is probably going to be on YouTube and podcast platforms. And we'll be back in the next week. You're probably listening to this on like August 10th. Probably we recorded this on the 9th, and we'll be back next weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
窓を閉じて呼びかけたままで夢はつま